Hollywood. I'm joining the Kojima World Order as of right now. An hour for a bus fight. Kojima. An hour for a bus fight. An hour for a bus fight. Everything that Kojima has made is godlike. Yes, Kojima. Hail him.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Manchild Chronicles, the show in which I chronicle the life and times of Philip Burnell, aka Darkside Phil, aka the King of Hate, aka DSP Gaming. I am your host, ThatKidDouglas, aka the Unhero, and today we're gonna delve into DSP's financial ruin. So let's get right into it, shall we? Now, Phil pumps out numerous videos a day, like 8 to 10 videos a day. And a lot of people have complained that he's stopped caring about quality and that he's just pumping all of this shit out there to essentially make money. And while that's very true, it's really more a move of desperation rather than greed, because DSP used to be really popular, and I mean really popular. This is a guy that could generate 30,000 to 60,000 views a video back in 2010, 2011, and now he can barely crack 1,000 to 2,000. So you may be wondering, oh, but why is he pumping out so much content today? I can't keep up with it. You know, he constantly blames the games, he's constantly dying, blah, 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 blah. And there's a reason for that, because he needs to make money, because his financial problems are so bad, and he's so deep in debt that he pretty much has to pump out videos every day. He literally cannot stop because he has to make money. Now, a lot of people may naively assume that you just put videos up, you monetize them, and you make money. That's how it works, right? You're gonna be like PewDiePie. And that's not how it works. In order to make substantial money on YouTube, in order to really be able to make a living, your videos need to generate a substantial amount of views. I'm talking 10,000 views and up, if not higher, before you start making some real money off this YouTube thing. Now, if you make 1,000 to 2,000 views on a single video, you're not going to be really making that much money because, you know, Google takes a cut, your MCN takes a cut, and then you pretty much get whatever's left over. So if your videos are only generating that amount of views, you're not going to be really making much money. You're practically going to be making chump change. For a small channel like myself, and just so we're clear here, I don't make any money doing these videos. I honestly don't. That's great, that's fantastic, but for a channel that has over 170,000 subscribers, that is a big disaster. That is horrible. That is fucking awful in every stretch of the word. But okay, so you're probably wondering, so if his videos don't generate that many views nowadays, how is he able to maintain a living? How is he able to continue doing this YouTube thing? Well, he's able to make a living because he pumps out so many videos a day, right? Not only on just DSP Gaming, but on all his other channels, and he collectively takes all the views from all of his various channels, and he's able to use that to make enough money to where he can make a living. And again, he does it because he's just made so many poor financial decisions over the years that he's pretty much forced to do that. One such example is his constant purchase of statues and action figures. Now, don't get me wrong, statues and action figures are cool. They're great. They're really great. But when you're an adult and when you're scraping together money and you're trying to make a living and you're trying to, well, live, it's not exactly the smartest financial decision. And he bought, and maybe like buying one or two of them was okay, but he bought so many of them as, you know, as to say, hey, I'm a big gamer, look at this Street Fighter Guile statue I have, or, you know, look at this random collector's edition action figure that I have. Isn't this cool? Look at my shit. It's great, right? And the mistake he made is not selling them when they were at the peak of his value, or when he was in deep financial trouble. Like, I'm pretty sure you heard the story of him being in massive credit card debt because he took out cash advances on his credit cards so he could finance a trip to EVO 2005. And if you don't know what EVO is, it's a really popular fighting game tournament held every year in Las Vegas, Nevada. Anyways, that's beside the point. Which, I mean, it's incredibly idiotic in of itself to take cash advances for anything, let alone going to a fighting game tournament. But that's what he did. And left himself in massive credit card debt. He had to move back in with his parents, and it was a pretty shitty situation. And instead of maybe selling his figures to help pay off some of his debt, you know, essentially when they were at the peak of their value and when he really desperately needed some money, he was like, nah, I'm just gonna hang on to them because they're still valuable. I still want them. And then years later, when he moved into his new home in Renton, Washington, right? And he had so many collector's edition statues and action figures and all sorts of other random shit that he bought over the years that it essentially filled up his house to the point that it's essentially like the TV show Hoarders. He was essentially becoming a de facto hoarder. And at that point, he then decides, maybe I should sell these statues and action figures now, because I don't need the stuff. I'm a serious adult, I have a house, I have bills to pay, I've got a mortgage, all this shit, which is a smart decision in of itself. The only problem is, he only realized this, like, literally a decade later, when he was still in deep financial problems. And at that point, all of the statues and action figures that he had were no longer valuable, or were damaged. And he legitimately thought that people would want to buy his old worn out shit. And seriously, he literally thought he was going to get tons of moolah for it. But the thing I don't think he realized is that collectors are picky as hell. Like, if the thing you're trying to sell isn't in mint, pristine condition, it literally has to be fucking perfect, then they're not going to shell out the cash to want to buy that. Because, again, they're picky as hell. They want stuff that's in mint, pristine condition. They are sticklers. They are OCD for this kind of shit. And that's what they failed to realize. And really, the rest of that is not even really valuable. You'd only basically get EB Games, GameStop trading levels of money for that, you know? And another financial decision, or terrible financial decision that he decided to make, was moving into his new house when he hadn't even sold his condo back in Connecticut, right? So, of course, you know Leanna Hagen, aka Pandalee. I did a video on her before, and, you know, I'll link it in the cards, it'll be in the description, in the annotations, right here, whatever, you'll see it in the annotations. She's basically DSP's girlfriend, and he wanted to move in with her where she was living in Washington, right? So when you're moving from one place to another, typically the smart adult thing to do is to, you know, put your old house up for sale, work with a realtor, find a buyer, and then when you find the desired buyer, and, you know, all the paperwork is signed and all that good stuff, you sell the house, then you move into your new one. This is smart because you're only having to pay one mortgage instead of two. But this motherfucker, this absolute idiot, thought it would be a wonderful idea to move into this new house in a gated community in Renton, Washington, when he hadn't even sold his old condo in Connecticut. So instead of having to pay one mortgage, he's now stuck paying two. And honestly, still to this day, I don't even know if he's been able to sell his old condo in Connecticut, or been able to even find a buyer for it. And if anyone knows that if he's actually sold his old house in Connecticut, please let me know in the comments down below, because that was a while ago, so I'm not entirely sure if he was able to find a buyer or not. But it's still just an absolutely terrible financial decision, especially when he's not doing so hot on YouTube these days, when his fan base is just continuing to dwindle, and really, nobody gives a shit about him anymore. This is how you don't play videos, and DSP tries it videos, and basically any video that basically makes fun of DSP, that roasts DSP, they all combined generate far more views than DSP's own videos nowadays, which is really, really sad. And of course, him betraying his two best friends, John Rambo and Howard. Why? Because of money. You guys know the whole Project 7 debacle. I don't think I really need to go into great detail, but basically, Phil wanted to be the star of the show. He wanted to be the face of it. He essentially let his ego get in the way, and he was getting really jealous that a lot of people were liking John Rambo a lot more, despite the fact that, you know, he co-wrote it with Howard and John Rambo. He was jealous that John Rambo was getting most of the credit, that people liked what he was doing more, and that people felt that, oh, this John Rambo guy, this guy is really fucking funny. This guy is great. Oh my god, this guy is like the true creative force. And this angered him, and he was so, he was so desperate to do Project 7 really solely for money, and it just wasn't generating the amount of views that it previously had. And I mean, there's this whole story behind that debacle. I'll leave a link to that video in the description down below if you want to watch it. It really gives some great insight into how Phil really thinks. And yeah, so that whole thing completely crashed and burned. That whole thing was canned. He then tried to kind of like revive it on his own, I guess purely as a way to just spite them, you know. And also, like, he also did like some WWE videos with John Rambo, and literally the only reason he did that, the only reason he actually got back into watching wrestling, because he hadn't done so in a while, was solely because of money, solely because he knew that it would generate some views so he could make money. It wasn't because he was passionate about it, or that he had a great idea, or because he legitimately wanted to do it. The only reason he even agreed to do it was because it would generate money. And, you know, and that's it. And that's really how he thinks. And he's made all of these terrible financial decisions, burned so many bridges with people, and done all of this dumb, inane bullshit solely for the purpose of money, because he's fucking desperate. Because he is so deep into his eyeballs with debt, and he needs to pay off these numerous debts, I think it's more than one, that he's completely forgotten about quality. He's completely stopped giving a shit, you know, about quality. And I'll be honest, it's baffling to me. It really is. And this is a guy that used to be really, really good. I used to be subscribed to this guy. I'm not coming at this from a hater's perspective. I'm coming at this from a fan's perspective. I really used to really enjoy his work. But when he started pumping out so many videos a day, I couldn't keep up with it. So I eventually just stopped watching. And really, as soon as he signed with Machinima, just everything went to shit. So if you're wondering why he uploads so many playthroughs and so many videos a day, if you're wondering why he uploaded that cringy video of him taking a fucking shower, if you're wondering why he does these god-awful DSP tries at food reviews, it's really because of money. Because he has to. He has to keep pumping out money. He has to keep pumping out videos constantly, every day. He can literally not take a break. He cannot stop so he can make a living and pay off his debts, because that's the kind of thing that that's the kind of hole he's dug himself. And he refuses to actually get a job and just do YouTube as a side thing, because he says it would be too hard and that nobody's hiring, which is really just the lamest fucking excuse that I have. I'm unemployed, but at least I've tried. I've really tried to try and at least look for a job. You know? This motherfucker, and along with his girlfriend Pandely, they don't even attempt to look for a fucking job. At least attempt. They're just content with sitting on their asses all day, playing video games to, well, make money. And it's not like her soap business is really generating that much cash these days anyway. But it's all in the service of money, because really, that's all he gives a shit about. He stopped caring about quality a long time ago, and he's willing to make these absolutely idiotic financial decisions to do so. That's all I gotta say about this. I think I've made my point, so I'm just gonna end it here. This is ThatKidDouglas, aka the End Hero, signing out. Deuces, stay frosty and keep it weird. Cue an outro sequence now.
I'm joining the Kojima World Order as of right now. Bam,